All right, let's get right into it. India is in the middle of a massive transformation of its labor laws, probably the biggest change since the country's independence, actually. We're talking about a huge overhaul set for 2025, and it's all designed to build a more modern, simple, and fair system for millions of workers.
So what's the big idea here? Well, it's all about radical simplification. Just imagine this tangled, complicated mess of 29 different labor laws, some of them overlapping, some of them ancient, and boiling them all down to just 4 easy-to-understand codes. That's the core of what we're going to break down today.
You're probably thinking, okay, but why go through all this trouble? Why was this change so necessary? Well, the old system was, to put it mildly, a mess. It was incredibly fragmented. You had laws on the books from way back, like the Factories Act of 1948. This created this confusing patchwork that was a nightmare for businesses to navigate and, more importantly, it left a huge chunk of the workforce completely unprotected.
And that right there brings us to the solution. To fix all that complexity, the government introduced a new unified framework. The answer is these 4 modern codes, each one designed to finally bring some clarity and consistency to the whole system.
So here's the quick breakdown of these 4 codes. You've got the code on wages, which is pretty straightforward. It's about making sure everyone gets paid fairly and on time. Then there's the Industrial Relations Code, which handles things like unions and disputes. Next, the Code on Social Security, which pulls all those benefits like pensions and health insurance under one roof. And finally, you have the OSHNWC Code. That's a mouthful. It stands for Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions, and it's all about keeping workers safe on the job. Okay, so that's the new structure, but let's get to the important part. What does this actually mean for the average person on the ground? What's the real-world impact? Because this is where these changes start to feel really significant.
To really get a sense of the scale here, just look at this chart. This is probably the single biggest result of the whole reform. Back in 2015, only about 19% of India's entire workforce had any kind of social security. With these new codes, that number is expected to jump to over 64%. That is a massive, massive leap, bringing a safety net to millions and millions of people who never had one before.
Which, of course, leads to the big question. Who are all these people? Who are these millions of workers being brought into the system for the first time? Well, that's the thing. We're talking about a whole new definition of who gets rights as a worker.
Essentially, protections that were once reserved for a small slice of the workforce are now becoming universal. We're talking about things like a nationwide minimum wage, free annual health checkups for workers over 40, and mandatory appointment letters, so your job is actually official. Plus, your Social Security benefits can now move with you from job to job. Oh, and maternity leave has been extended to 26 weeks.
Let's just focus on one of those for a second, the Universal National Floor Wage. This is a really big deal. For the first time ever, there is a legal minimum wage for every single worker in the country. Doesn't matter what sector you're in or where you live. This isn't just some recommendation. It's now a fundamental right, aimed at giving everyone a baseline of financial security.
Now here's where the reform gets really forward-thinking. It specifically addresses the modern economy. Yep, we're talking about gig and platform workers. Think of your food delivery drivers or online freelancers. For the first time, they're being formally recognized and brought into a new safety net. So how does it work? A dedicated Social Security fund has been created specifically for them. This is absolutely historic. For years, these kinds of jobs have existed in this legal gray zone. This fund is a formal acknowledgement that these workers are a crucial part of the economy and they deserve protection. And who pays into this fund? The platform companies themselves, the aggregators. They're now on the hook to contribute between 1 and 2% of their total turnover. So the financial responsibility for this new safety net lands right on the companies that are profiting from this labor, not on the individual worker. But look, a reform this huge, this ambitious, it's never gonna be easy. The vision is incredible, but actually making it work on the ground for everyone, well, that's where the real challenges begin. Implementation is everything.
There are really 3 main hurdles to watch out for. First up, just getting all the rules finalized. There have been delays at both the central and state levels, which is slowing things down. Then there's the challenge of reaching the huge informal sector. Getting millions of small businesses to actually comply is a massive task. And finally, you've got the digital divide. A lot of these new benefits are tied to online platforms, which could leave workers who aren't tech-savvy behind.
But even with all those challenges, the mission behind this whole thing is really powerful. The core idea is about building sustainable growth on the foundation of dignified work for all. It's this belief that you can't have true national progress unless you are also taking care of your workers. The two are completely linked.
So that leaves us with the big final question, doesn't it? This new framework is incredibly ambitious. It's trying to completely redraw the lines between work, welfare, and the economy. But with all the hurdles ahead, can it truly deliver on its incredible promise for hundreds of millions of people? That's what we'll have to wait and see.